and welcome to We Are Better Together, a channel created to put the value back into relationships. I'm your host, CRJ. Let's get into it. Today, I am absolutely ecstatic that I have the opportunity to talk to Dennis Spurling, Uncle D. He's sharing a couple minutes to talk to me a little bit about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We'd like to talk a little bit. I've been listening to you, Mr. Spurling, for now a couple of years now, and I agree with a lot of things that you posted on YouTube yourself. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to bless my studio and talk a little bit about your thoughts on several things. I'd like to turn it over to you and maybe just tell everybody a little bit who might not know who you are, a little bit of your history, your YouTube background. I know that you are a lawyer by career, so I'd like for you to maybe expand on that and just a little bit about you as well.
Well, man, first of all, I want to say big shout out to CRJ. You guys know I very rarely ever go to anybody else's channel. I kind of stick to myself over there in the bear cave. You know what I'm talking about? I stay over there by myself, minding my business. But, sometimes some people can coach me out. And so big shout out to CRJ, man. If I had my hand clap button ready and able, I'd give you a hand clap. But
no problem. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Shout out to you, man. And I love the thing We're Better Together. So, look, like I say, all the time, I say that myself, we're better together. But big shout out to you, man. It takes a big step to get on out here and start voicing your opinions. But about me, really not that exciting of a human being. I pretty much, I'm just a lawyer. I live down south. I live in south in Texas. But, I've done a lot of interesting things. I've hung out with a lot of interesting people, and I've sometimes purposely, but also sometimes stumbled my way into situations and managed to get myself out. But for the most part, I'm a dad, I'm a father. Many know me as a podcaster. I've been practicing law it'll be a quarter of a century next year. Licensed in multiple states. Funny thing is, I really don't ever just talk about the practice of law. Every now and then I'll do a broadcast on Supreme Court cases. But for the most part, I'm an advocate for Black men. And what that means is I'm always trying to pitch Black men in a positive light, largely because I am a Black man. Number one, I have 3 Black sons. And I think we should just begin to dispel some of these myths with truth. And so that's kind of how it started. I started off on Facebook saying back then it was inappropriate to say some of the things I was saying, but now it seems like not only have people caught up with me, they surpassed me in some of the what would have been outlandish things 14 years ago. I caught up to YouTube around about 2020, right at the beginning of the shut-ins. And from there, it's been like a springboard. And so now I think I checked, I have several million views and whatnot. I don't really check those numbers, but I really just use my platform to echo and speak on behalf of Black men who wouldn't otherwise be heard. But other than that, man, I'm just really just a typical brother, who wants to make sure that our voice is heard and make sure that we have a seat at the table, whether it be sociological issues or political issues, relationship. I just want to make sure we have a voice. And I think as an attorney, I'm in a great position to do that. And so that's kind of where I'm at, CRJ, brother.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that. When I started off the channel, We Are Better Together. That's what I feel. That's what I believe. My parents are still married. My wife, I've been married now over 20 years. My wife's parents are still married. So both of my sisters are married, and both of the men that they married's parents are still married.
Damn.
And, I know, right?
That's beautiful. That is a beautiful thing, brother. That's beautiful.
It really is, and everybody, we talking about that's 50 plus year marriages because I'm over 50 but it is. And I feel that way. And I looked at the situation where we are in the world, and I have daughters. And the purpose of me starting on my channel was more so because I looked at them and I said, I don't want my daughters to end up what I'm seeing online. I see women over 40, sad, complaining. Why not me? I've done everything right. I've done the career. Why can't I find? And I'm seeing the why. And it's like, it's so simple. So I found myself talking to women when I first started the channel out. That didn't work out.
No, they
got a lot of hate.
Who do you think you are? You can't talk to us like you don't even know what we did. Blah blah. You need to be out there talking to them sorry men out there. Blah 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 blah. I feel you, player. I feel you.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And you're probably not even married. You probably don't even have a wife. And it's just like, and you know, and so and I realized. So what I realized in doing that was that one, what you just said, women were not going to listen. But two, it also made me realize that I'm kind of saying, I realized I needed to change. And so I found myself kind of pivoting a little bit, like the lead attorney, another great podcaster says, sometimes you got to switch it up a little bit. So I find myself now talking to men. So this is kind of a great conversation, like what you said, because men are more so going to listen to the conversation. But in doing so and talking to men, I can't just say, we are better together, go get married, because the fact is, sadly enough, there are a lot of women out there who don't qualify as wives.
So, boy, you're going to get canceled before you get started good. You can't say that. You can't tell them that they, you better not tell them that they don't qualify. You bet.
Hey, listen, I watch football. That doesn't make me a quarterback. you know, I mean, listen, it's the truth there. And you know what, in all honesty, it's not all their fault, because especially a lot of the younger women, it's the environment that we live in right now and what's being told to them. It's kind of like, do you blame the people in North Korea that they believe this supreme leader? No, it's what they've been told their whole life. They don't know. And so when you're telling these women that the things such as, you know, your health and size don't matter, or the fact that you have 3 kids doesn't matter, or the fact that you make 100,000 but you have a bad attitude, that doesn't matter. All these things. So you think that, and then unfortunately, when they do find out the truth, it's too late. But I found myself now talking to men and saying, hey, listen, there are good women out there. You just kind of have to sit through and find, kind of like the old K&G. Remember old K&G? There were some good deals out there.
Yeah.
But you kind of had to take the time to sift through and find that those Claiborne suits and those Ralph Lauren suits, they were out there. And so what are we looking for?
Brother. These men who want Rolls Royces are not about to go to a used a car lot and pay Rolls Royce prices for a Ford Focus. They're not paying Rolls Royce prices for a Ford Focus. They will opt to be by themselves. They will opt to get a passport and go overseas, or they will say smash and dash at best.
But what about but what about the women? There are some good women out there. If you find one of them, is it not worth it to create your own little team, to create your group? What do you tell me? Talk about it.
Well, brother, what I find and what the men are saying, and you know, I have about 70,000 followers, subscribers, but what makes my page unique is that it is 98% men, 98% Black men, 98% Black American men. So basically, I got a stadium full of brothers that I talk to every night, okay? And so I base my assessment on what they're saying. They're saying the same thing you say. There's just not enough qualified women out there for marriage. And oftentimes women confuse men who want sexual access with them for men who would like to marry them and make the sacrifice necessary to make them wives. And a lot of men are not willing to do that sacrifice. Now, couple that with the fact that there's so many legal pitfalls associated with having children and getting married, more importantly, getting divorced. I am an advocate for marriage. In fact, I'm an advocate for Black men marrying women of African descent. My preference for Black men is to marry women of African descent. It doesn't matter if she's foundational Black American, she can be Caribbean Black, she can be African from the continent Black, she can be South American, Central American. That's what I say. I think that's better. I think it's just wise because culturally speaking, there's less pressure on the children to try to pick a side. In addition to that, there's more understanding from a cultural standpoint, and there's enough conflict in relationships anyway without having to get over those intra-racial barriers and those intracultural barriers. That said, I tell brothers, hey, you'll be foolish for passing up a good woman who is fit, feminine, beautiful, cooperative, respectful, who treats you well just because of the color of her skin. If you find one that treats you that well, because the truth is, CRJ, man, we always talk about how there's a dearth of good men. There's truly not a lot of good women out there who haven't been subjected to this get the bag culture, this ratchet culture. And I tell the brothers all the time, all the good ones are married. All the good ones are married. And if you got a man, ladies, you better hold on to him, because ain't nothing out. These dudes are not marrying. These men out here are not getting married. They don't trust you. They don't want to have anything to do with you other than smash and dash. So you got a good man, hold on, and vice versa, fellas. If you got a good, solid woman on your side, don't leave her for these glorrillas. You can go out there if you want to. And nothing out there but some STDs for you. If you go on out there and some loose babies, go on out there if you want to. Go ahead. But go. I didn't mean to cut you. I know it's your show.
No. Well, I'm listening to all the knowledge. You know what? You can tell that stadium of men. You know where? We hear a lot about the passport bros and the going out and do. You know where the good women are still? Well, you know where the good black women are in this country?
Here you go. Let's hear it. Where they at? Go ahead.
New Orleans.
If you don't get off of my internet right now,
listen.
New Orleans.
There's some good. Listen, those women. There's some good women. They're still humble down there. They'll make a plate for you. Listen, I'm married. I married a Creole, light skin, light eyes, beautiful, all of that, and then some. And I see the women that are connected to her family through Facebook. You get the little message, you might know this person. I'm like, who is this? And she knows who they are. Oh, that's cousin so-and-so. Oh, that's my friend from so-and-so. Let me tell you something. When I go to an event down there, and it's been a while because of COVID and everything, but they'll still make a plate for you. They'll still show you that respect and that love. They're down there. Not the ones that are at the what you call it, the juvenile concert and all. And I'm talking about they're still back there. They're down there. I'm telling you.
I mean, I hear you. I feel you. And, my lovely, wonderful, fantastic, outstanding ex-wife was from New Orleans. And bless her wonderful, beautiful, loving heart. Just God bless her. She's a wonderful, wonderful human being to somebody. So praise God for her. You know what I'm saying? Nevertheless, I think some of the things that you say that these women in New Orleans do are actually par for the course. Because when you start traveling abroad, you start realizing not only do they bring you a plate, but they cook, clean, bring you breakfast in bed. They get up every morning, they mop the floor, they sweep the floor, they take care of the house, they wash the kids. And you don't have to hear that back talk. And the culture that they live in binds them to a certain role that requires femininity, that they lead with their femininity. On the other hand,
they need men. Yeah, they need men.
Not yet. Like Kevin used to say, man, feminism is a first world issue. It's no feminism in third world countries. And the reason it's like that because they don't have the technology, the means, the resources to exercise those so-called rights that modern women in Western countries have, whether it be Europe, UK, Australia, the United States, Germany, some of those other countries. They can't get away with the stuff that they get away with in the United States. It's not feasible. It's not financially possible. A lot of women can't even afford cars. So, they need a man.
So then let me ask you this question, the magic question. How do we fix it?
Fix what? Fix this?
Fix everything. Well, here's the deal. We fix exactly what we're talking about. The bottom line is this. My opinion. People talk about global warming, climate. People talk about Russia. People talk about inflation. To me, the number one problem is that right there. We're not getting together. And by not getting together, there are not fathers, kids. You might not want him. Maybe he's a crappy boyfriend. Maybe he wasn't a great husband. But guess what? Your son needs him. Your son needs his father. Right. Your daughter needs her dad. So at the end of the day, my belief, the number one problem in our country right now is what we're talking about. And that is that we're not getting together. And more people are being raised without a two-parent household, without that father in the house. So every time I see a woman pumping gas and a boy sitting in the driver's seat, that lets me know, father was around. Because ain't no boy gonna let him.
Can I drink out my jelly jar on your show, man? I can't.
Absolutely.
I won't be too ghetto up in them. Sorry.
No, absolutely. So how do we fix that problem right there? What is your opinion to fix? Because we got to get back to that. We got to get back to that. Not just to say we're together, but I remember Chris Rock made a joke. He said, "You want to live in a neighborhood where women don't work, not in a neighborhood where men are not working." In the joke he said, and so that's a true point. So in your opinion, how do we fix that?
Well, brother, it's going to take a little history lesson first. Okay. So in the fresh out of slavery, let's say 1870, we were building towns, we were building schools, we were building,
that is correct.
Institutions. We attended church on a regular basis. From that point all the way up to 1950, we were the most married, intact group of people in the country, even surpassing white folks. So what happened between those two time periods? Well, in 1860, 1870, we were still subject to Jim Crow. We were a people who were, for the most part, segregated from the main body of society. By 1950, we had attained wealth. We had our own busing lines. We had our own schools, our own institutions for the most part. And those institutions like church, school, they reinforce the culture. Okay. And so after 1950, we were able to get some laws changed. Of course, we were subjected to Jim Crow. We were often sectioned off to our section of town. And see, we were constricted. We were a constricted people. So you could say that we went from slavery to just concentration, or, we were the working class people. We were the working poor. We were the middle class. We were all that, but we still had to be together. Okay. We were forced to be together. Now, as a result of the change of the laws, Brown versus the Board of Education, housing, discrimination laws were abolished. Busing was implemented, employment discrimination was, and so we've been able to experience freedom. And experiencing freedom means now you had a captive people for several hundred years that were forced to be together. And now, as we had to learn to deal with captivity, now we have to learn to deal with freedom. And presented with the freedom of choice, oftentimes a doctor, irrespective of his color, he might not want to live next to a Pookie and a Ray Ray. A brother or a sister who has the option of dating a man or a woman who is of their economic or class level may choose that person irrespective of their race or ethnicity over somebody solely because of their color. So we're dealing with the freedom of choice. Now you couple that with the fact that around about the 1950s and 60s, we had this country in an uproar with the civil rights movement. And if you look at some of the documents, COINTELPRO, J. Edgar Hoover, they specifically targeted the Black community, saying we have got to undermine the power base of the Black community. And what is the power base? It's the family. And so they purposely did things to undermine the family. If you look at some of the old Black neighborhoods, the old Black communities, typically there is a freeway running right through the middle of the hood. So not only were we separated and our communities destroyed, but they were purposely targeted for separation. So you got, on one hand, we got freedom that we're dealing with. On another hand, you have the churning of the melting pot, presenting us with all our sons are going to schools at PWIs, our daughters are going to school at PWIs. We're working here, we're working there. And so our people have not recognized the importance of unity And couple that with the fact that you have systems and governmental entities focused on breaking Black people up because it serves their purpose. Because when we come together, we build and we are an unstoppable force. And we can't not look or pay attention to the elephant in the room. And that is the prejudice that has historically uh, uh, oppressed Black people in the United States. That's still there. And so you got the tension with that. Yeah, we don't even like each other at this point. Where, you know, you and I, we have a different generation. We'll call each other brother, but these youngsters don't call each other brother and sister. They would call each other N-word and 304 before they call each other brother and sister. And so we don't have that. And unfortunately, you and I are, and Kevin and some of the other brothers are the last generation, and I'm talking about Generation X. We're the last generation that had that affinity for Blackness. These youngsters, if you talk to these young boys and especially these young Black men, even as young as middle school, they don't even date Black women. Now, there was a time when we were stuck together. Either you got a Black woman or you were by yourself. But now with the option to date whomever they so choose, they're picking options that they deem more befitting. So if you want to bring back the Black fathers, first you have to set the conditions so that the Black family can come back together. And we just don't have that right now. And so it's a growth, it's almost like growing pains. And I don't know, with a population of only 14% and an influx of African migrants, Caribbean migrants, I don't know whether or not this foundational Black American culture is going to be able to withstand for another 50 years. I know this sounds dismal, CRJ, but I'm not the only one that predicts this. You can look at the news reports. You can look at the admixture that you see happening right before your eyes. And it's pretty prevalent. Again, I say Black people should date Black people. I also tell white men, hey, get your white woman. I tell Asians, get your Asian. I say that, love yourself.
I don't think you have to tell the Asian. I think they know.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I know it sounds like a pretty dismal forecast, but I don't think, in my opinion, now there's always going to be Black people. There's always going to be Black people in this country. And over the years, we might have an increase in population. But as far as what was in the 1950s and before, I don't think we're going to return to that. It's going to be a new Black population, but it's going to be an admixture. You're going to have your, what we call biracials. It's going to have your Caribbeans, your Africans, and there'll be some foundational Black Americans. But that's what I see, brother. You know, I don't know. Maybe you disagree, but that's what.
No, a buddy of mine said it's going to take someone dropping that bomb here. He said, you know, to bring that value back for us, like you said, because of the situations, because of what the government has done, we are not as valued as much, and togetherness is not valued. But unfortunately, if a bomb was dropped here, you know, I mean, we saw it during COVID. You know, it was better to have somebody during a pandemic than it was to be by yourself. So, you know, I bet you can ask the women in the Ukraine. I bet those Ukraine men are valued over there right now, you know, and what they're going through. And I would hate for it to be to that, to get us back to the point. But I mean, you said some valid points. That might be the case. But you know what? At the end of the day, before they lay me in that ground, at least I can say I tried. You know, and even if a minimum, if I can get my daughters married off, because, you know, I know my daughters are extremely smart. One's in high school, one's in college. You know, they're both honor students. I know they'll do well. They've seen myself as well as their mom and their careers. I know they'll do that, but I would hate to see them super successful, but be by themselves. Because to me, then it wouldn't be, you know, to be like that and to be, you know, 40 plus and to have to spend, you know, the mama and the dad's gone and you're spending your Christmases by yourself. You know, I want to give them, I want to have what I've given my in-laws. You know, they come here for Thanksgiving, they come here for Christmas, they got to watch the little ones celebrate Santa Claus and all of that. And, you know, and I've given that to my parents, I've given that to my wife's parents. I want that as well. And so it's a sad thing. Let me ask you a question. I want your opinion on this. I know you've heard of the term hypergamy.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I want to know, is there a workaround to that? Because I think a part of that, on top of everything you said as it relates to the government and what they've done to kind of separate us, I think hypergamy is real. And I see, at my age group, graduating college in 94, I see the women of my day are now right at that 50 mark. And most of them, you see them on Facebook, they're successful, they've done well in schooling and their career. They're by themselves, and now it's kind of hitting the reality check.
Yeah,
man. Do you think, is there a workaround to hypergamy? Do you think that there's a workaround to that? And go ahead, I'll let you go ahead, and we both know what it is. I'll let you explain for those who don't know, because you'd be surprised how many people don't know what hypergamy is.
All right, hypergamy goes into female nature in that they are always looking for the most successful, physically fit, wealthiest man in their area to mate with. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I like hypergamy for women. I wish more Black women would be hypergamous. I wish they would choose the engineers, the doctors, the plumbers, the electricians over some of these no good scoundrels out here that they let enter into their bodies and enter into their lives. I am going to, I have 3 sons, but if I had daughters, I would definitely teach them to be hypergamous at a very young age. And I would tell them that these are the type of men that I want you to choose. Now, you're a girl dad, I'm a boy dad.
Mm-hmm.
I can already tell you that at the point when my daughters get a certain age, I'm gonna say, you don't date boys your age. You date men who have established themselves, who are 30, 40 years old. And I'm talking about, this is something I'm gonna train my young daughters 18, 19, 20 years old. That's who you go after, because I want them to be hypergamous. Number one, I don't want them to have to deal with the ups and downs associated with that young love and that young boy life, who they don't even know what they truly want. And they're going to treat my daughter like a plaything, take her body and what she has to offer, specifically her time as a young girl, wasting 2 or 3 years with this one, 2 or 3 with that one. Next thing you know, she's 26, 27 years old and on her way to 30, hitting the wall, because you can be hypergamous at 20. You can't be hypergamous at 50. And it doesn't matter how many degrees you have. It doesn't matter how clean your house is, what kind of car you have. Men are not looking for women for their money or their bank account. Not any real man.
Right.
They want a woman who is fit, feminine, beautiful, young. That's why you have men who are of age dating younger. That's what the whole thing is. We don't come into our own as men. You're not going to call a 17, 18-year-old boy with nothing a man. He might be a man, but he's not the type of man that we aspire to be. We aspire to be men who are successful, who've proven themselves. Man is a title. Woman is a state of being. In other words, women, we'll call them human beings. They are who they are simply because of their biology. All women have to do for the most part is maintain a certain weight, smile, be considered, learn some skills, some domestic skills. And if they're young enough, by right, they should have a man. And of course, look factor. But for the most part, they can pretty much have the cream of the crop in their circle if they choose right. That's where hypergamy works. Hypergamy doesn't work when you raise your standards the older you get. When you were 20, you dealt with a Pookie and a Ray Ray. But by the time you get 40, 50 years old, he's got to be darn near Superman. You a 50-year-old woman, and you want your man to have a 6-pack, 6 figures. Hold on a minute. He got to ride around in a Mercedes-Benz. He got to be an ex-dope dealer with a heart, businessman, entrepreneur with a jet, waiting at the airline for you. And he got to rub your feet 3 times a day, cooking your favorite meal, and watch your bad kids and treat them like they his own. That's too much to ask, man.
That's too much, man. That's where the hypergamy doesn't work.
AARP and ask them if they can deliver that for you. You're too old for that. That's my thoughts. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
That's where the hypergamy doesn't work. I agree with you. I tell my daughters that the career that you seek to put you in the better rooms so that you can get the better men. But to get that good man, you got to do exactly what you said. And it's about your femininity. It's about your weight and your size. And it's about your attitude. If you have a nice attitude, you can overlook multiple things, I was at the blackjack table about 3 months ago, and I was there, and it was just me and this other girl, and we were just talking, and we were talking. I'm gonna tell you what day it was. The day that ex-President Trump had gotten the assassination attempt.
Right.
That day. And we were talking, and all of a sudden we got into a relationship conversation, and she was a very hefty girl. She was big. But she had a positive. She was a big mama. She was a big mama. She was a big mama. Yeah. She was a white. She was a white girl. She's a big girl. But she had the most positive energy about her, and she was telling me that she had been proposed to 3 times.
Oh yeah.
And after sitting there talking to her for about 30 minutes while we were betting, just her and myself playing against the dealer, I see why, because she had a positive spirit about her. That right there can overcome a lot of things. But I tell my daughters, and I agree with what you said as far as dating older. You're right. That 27, 28, 32-year-old guy will value a 25, 23-year-old woman. And he's done playing around, joking around. He's looking at his life. And he's like, man, I'm
going to stop you. He need to at least be 35 because these 27-year-olds, they're out there. Boy, they out there batting 1,000. Don't you put your baby girl in the hand of no 27-year-old right now. Don't you do it.
And they're not ready at 27?
No, not these days. They are not.
I'm thinking about me. I mean, I've been solo since 21. I bought my first house at 29, 28, 29.
No, that was you. It was a different time. We talking about this. We talking about right now. Okay, right now. I talk to him every day. Okay,
I need you
every day. You need to get 35 plus. She'll be back pregnant, sleeping on your couch.
No, we can't have that. No, we can't. We can't have that. We cannot have that.
You gotta go. We're gonna give you somebody who's gonna take care of you. That's what I need you to do. Don't you put that baby in that hand. Don't you ever give your 20-some-year-old daughter to some 20-some-year-old.
She gotta go. Okay. All right. Okay.
You want somebody who has a proven track record. He's got his own house, his own finances. He's stable. You've investigated this man. Them 20, you don't know what they're going to do. I know some dudes, COVID-19 hit, and they just broke all the way down because they've never been tested before. And so, like, part of what I do with my sons, because I don't want to put no weak, punk-ass men out there that somebody's daughter has to deal with. So I constantly push them. I push them with physical fitness. I push them with martial arts. I make them do difficult things. I want them to be pushed and tested. And if they break, that's all right. We'll put you back together. But for the most part, these are the type of men I want to put out there. And on the flip side, I expect that whoever my sons decide to date and marry will be worthy of that. But I expect the best from them because I expect them to be able to call the best from the woman. But I tell men all the time, you don't even think about getting in a serious relationship until you're 35 because you're playing too much. A lot of these folk, these young men, they just see we still come. And brother, I can rant and ramble, but we still have a confusion. We confused about what manhood and masculinity is. It's not how many women you can sleep with. It's not how many women you can bed. It's not how big your car is, or how much money you have in the bank. Yeah, all that is great. There's a financial aspect to manhood because that shows your level of stick-to-itness and success. But at the end of the day, it's about who you are, your character. You see what I mean? And I just don't think the young men these days, especially considering many of them were raised by women and they didn't get their masculinity training. I don't think they're ready. Yeah, I don't. I love my little brother, Uncle D love you. You know, Uncle D love you to death, baby. But I'm just telling you, you're not ready. You need some more time in the oven. We need to bake you up and then pull you out when you're ready. 35 to 40. If I had a 20-year-old daughter, I said, you don't date anybody under 35, period. And he needs to have proven himself.
That's right. I agree with you on the proven. You got to do the background check. That's our purpose. That's our goal as far as. I'm going to ask you one more question before we close out here. This is a big one right here. What are your thoughts on the election? And more importantly, I'm looking at it from a relationship standpoint. From a relationship standpoint, is this going to affect? I got a short that I did that I haven't posted yet. I'm going to post it later this week. But I heard a term that I didn't like, and it was called the new masculinity. I didn't know we needed to change masculinity because They're looking at Kamala as she potentially could be. Obviously, she has a 50-50 shot of being the president. That's a fact. And they're looking more and concentrating on her husband and saying, "Oh, this guy." I heard one news anchor say that he's just as cute as Ryan Gosling because he supports her. It's like, didn't know that was real or not. And so I wanted to hear your thoughts. And if she were to win, does that, you mentioned a lot of history and you talked about a lot of things that we're at this point because of this. Do you think that actually might affect us, maybe in a positive, maybe in a negative? I want to get your opinion from the relationship standpoint and where we are right now. Like you said, we're not in my time and we're not in my father's time. We're in this time. But how will that affect us maybe for the next 25 years going forward?
You mean the election of Kamala Harris, how that will affect us as black men and black women?
Men and women, yeah. And I can't even say just black women. I think it might gas up black women too at a certain point. And maybe our stock as men, I think our stock is getting kind of low and we're not appreciated as we could and should be. Do you think that might even knock us? Will that affect our stock a little to the negative or to the positive?
Theoretically, that's possible, but then you have things like hurricanes and tornadoes. And what you're not going to have is a female National Guardsman pulling up over somebody's roof. Because remember, we talking about, when was Hurricane Katrina? 29 years ago? Something like that?
Yeah, not 05, 06.
05, yeah. So, yeah, we getting up there. It's about 25, 24 years. So, the thing is, you're still going to need men to fix the plumbing, fix the pipes. You're still going to need men to fight the wars. I've yet to meet a woman who wants to go stand in a trench with an M16 and a 160-pound rucksack on her back and run into somebody's bayonets. So irrespective of what women say theoretically, right, in reality, they're still going to need a man to enforce their will. Or whatever it is they want to do. They can't fix the roads. So what are you going to do? If there's a situation that arrives, this earth is designed for both people. We need men and women. Okay. It's cool that women are flexing their authority. And I've told you guys this before. I've told everybody this on board. I'm voting for president, and on the federal level, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, not because I have any desire or special feelings toward him. I'm voting for him because I want to keep my taxes low, and the party that he's aligned with will make my taxes low. As a business owner, as a father, my goal is to keep as much money in my pocket as I possibly can. And if I can save $100, $200, $300, $400,000 voting for this person as opposed to voting for that person, I will. I paid less taxes under George Bush. I paid more taxes under Obama. I paid less taxes under President Trump 1, and I paid more taxes under Biden. So I'm a one issue voter, period. Now, as far as on the local levels, I'm probably gonna vote Democrat. I'm gonna vote for a lot of these black judges, a lot of black female judges, black male judges. I'm gonna vote, and not necessarily because of their color, but just because of their party affiliation. They're Democrats, so I kind of know what I'm gonna get. But I'm not beholden to one party or the other at this point. Now, I'm still registered as a Democrat, but for the most part, that's why I'm. Now, as far as the long-term effect of Kamala Harris, let me suggest that history tells us that every time we get a person of color as the figurehead, bad things happen to black people. Because oftentimes what happens is that figurehead sits out there and says, oh, we're not racist, we're not sexist. And then bad things happen to black people behind the cover of that black figurehead. So at least, and I live down south, and I'm assuming I don't know what part of the country you live in.
I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah, so I like my racists out front and bold with that. I like them. I like you with your Confederate flag on the back of your car. I know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what's up, Ted? How you doing? I'm not coming to your house. I'm damn sure not going to eat your potato salad. And I certainly don't want to date your daughter. You understand what I'm saying? I like mine like that, as opposed to the San Francisco liberals who are constantly telling black people what they should do and who they should vote for and how they should think, or the New York liberals. That's where I'm at. I like people straight up, straightforward. Let me know where I stand with you. And that's my thing. How this is going to affect black people, I don't know, brother. I mean, I don't, other than the fact that they're going to usher in policies that more likely than not that are more anti-black. They're going to do things for other ethnic groups, LGBT, Hispanic, Asian. If Kamala Harris is good, because she's going to say, yeah, all that bluster, and they still voted for me. You see, on the flip side, I think Donald Trump is going to do everything he said he's going to do. He's going to remove the illegal immigrants. He's going to lower taxes. He's going to make sure that the economy, at least as far as the energy is, he's going to make sure we open up the some of those sanctuaries for oil drilling and natural gas drilling. He's going to do what he says. I truly believe that he's going to put an end to some of the wars in Ukraine and the war in Gaza, and he's going to scare the bejesus out of North Korea and Iran. I think that he's going to do what he says he's going to do because he did it in his first term. We're Americans at this point. And at this point, what's good for America, we are so ingrained in America. There's no separating black people from America. If you took all the black people who are black Americans and put them in Africa, it would be more, that section of Africa would be more like America than it is Africa, because we're Americans. Culturally, we're Americans. We're far removed. Look, I got love for the brothers. I got love for the sisters in the motherland. But at the end of the day, culturally, this is who we are. And our culture takes precedence over our race. And that's just something that we have to live with. Culturally, we're American. And so what's good for America is good for us. And at this point, it's just time to get your money and save your money and stop getting caught up into the racial politics, the identity politics. Because at the end of the day, America is a machine. It's a machine. People over here to make money. Make your money. Don't get too cozy and cuddly with it. Our ancestors fought and died and fought against systematic racism, up close and personal racism, prejudice, and it's still not going anywhere. But you can get a bank loan. You're not redlined. You can join the military. You can get a job pretty much where you want. You can go to whatever school you want. If I wanted to go to Georgia Tech, I could. University of Georgia. You couldn't do that back in the 1920s. Our ancestors fought that fight so we could participate in this money-making endeavor called the American dream. And that's to me, that's the objective.
No, I agree with everything you said. And I think more importantly, what I tell my kids, what I tell anybody, you vote for who you want to vote for, but just know why you're doing it. And like you said exactly why. I think that's the biggest problem is a lot of people say, I'm voting this way. You say, why? What do you mean, why? Why are you asking me that? I think that's a simple question. But why are you doing that? So as long as you can articulate the why, then that's, and everybody's why is different. And that's what's important. No, I don't disagree at all. I think of anything, I worry a lot about what you said as far as our history and what's taking place to kind of devalue and pull the man out of the scenario, and not just the black man, but the man in general out of the scenario. Because there's a lot of delusional white women out there too that think that they are entitled to a $200,000 man. Oh yeah. And so it's women in general. And at the end of the day, if they have a son or a daughter who grows up without a father in the household because of whatever reason, and he wasn't a good boyfriend, so she kicked him to the curb, or she got pregnant because he wasn't the one. That's one more person out here. That's one more boy who doesn't know that he's supposed to pump his mom's gas, because he didn't have a dad punching him in the chest saying, boy, get out there and pump that gas for your mama. So I definitely agree with what you said, but I appreciate your time and spending with me over here and kind of sharing. Like I said before, I think a lot of the things that you and I talk about, we agree on a lot of the same things, and we are from a different generation. And maybe it's my delusion to think that we can get back to that generation. But like I said, if we can't, at least when they put me in the ground, they can put on the tombstone, here's CRJ, at least he tried, right?
At least you tried, brother. I ain't trying. I mean, I am good. And just get your money, son. Just get your money. Go find your fine woman, have some kids, live in peace. That's what I'm saying.
I hear you. Well, I appreciate you. Uncle D, thank you very much for coming on, and we will talk to you guys soon.
All right. Yeah, baby.